do me a favor and tell me what your favorite Tableau building game is and what you're drinking. I'm currently drinking just more water with Mio in it. It's very boring. But at least it lets me drink water, and I'll take it. All right, how's it going, party people? It's Caravan Dan from Gaming Caravan, and today I'm going to talk about Oceans from North Star Games. Thank you, North Star, for sending me a copy of this game. I've wanted to play it for a little bit now, and I am very, very happy with it. It plays even better with real people than the free digital version they have on Steam, I believe. Maybe even mobile, but I can only play on Steam that I found. This is a sequel game to Evolution. If you don't know, Evolution's a board game about evolving certain species, trying to have the most points by the end of the game by collecting food. This is the sequel to it because North Star got the rights to produce Evolution. Evolution's been through a few different companies. This is an aquatic-based version of Evolution, and it kind of feels like a one-to-one make when you just look at the rules and stuff with some slight differences. But in actuality, it changes the entire gameplay into what I think is the best, to what I believe is a much better version of Evolution, if not the best Evolution game I've played. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the theme of this game, Oceans, is you are a collective of species. You will then go out and try to gain the most amount of population possible between what's on your player board and what is banked behind your player screen. The hook of this game is it is probably the best Evolution-based game ever. I don't mean Evolution based off the IP Evolution as in the board game series. I mean genuinely any kind of game based off evolving characters, evolving species. This is the best one I've played so far, and I've played a decent chunk of them, maybe about 10. The audience for this game definitely are Tableau player interaction lovers. This game is very, very based upon who's sitting left of you, right of you, what species are next to you, what species are between you, what other players choose to do, what other players choose not to do. So I got something in my eyes, man. There's a lot of stuff in my eyes right now. So if you like Tableau games, if you like midway games, if you like player interaction games, you definitely should check out this game at least once. The MSRP price of this game is $55, which is a decent chunk, but with all the art in here and all the quality of the components, it's very understandable. For the details of the game, we got player count. This game plays 2 to 4 players, but I heard with the expansion in the game, it could play up to 6. I can't confirm that, but I've heard this game plays 2 to 6 with the expansion, but the base right here plays 2 to 4. The weight of the game is a solid 2.5 out of 5. It sits right in the middle of the road with a medium weight game. It's fairly simple to learn, fairly simple to comprehend the basics of the PEMDAS and the round and the player turns, but it's significantly difficult to win and even harder to win consistently. This game is very, very fluctuating, depending, again, based off who is in the game, what their strategies are, what cards are in the game, and all that fun stuff. The length of this game is solidly about 75 minutes, regardless of player count. It's all based on the timer in the game, because the timer in the game are the fish present between the reef and the ocean tiles. You'll have 100 fish if you're playing 2 players, and then 20 fish more for every extra player. So 120 for 3 players, 140 for 4 players. Going into the aesthetics of this game, if you look at this game right here, you can see through all the B-roll and just on the box itself, this game's absolutely beautiful. North Star does a great job with their art in general, in my opinion, but the Evolution series, it's just another thing. This is some gorgeous, hyper-realistic, colorful art style that I don't find in many other games. It's reminiscent of Wingspan, Wormspan-esque art, where it's just beautiful and it's very vibrant, which really draws your eyes. It makes you really want to engage with the cards. It makes you actually want to be present, and it's very, very sad that in order to play this game effectively and efficiently, you need to stack the cards on top of the art. But regardless, when it's in your hand, when it's on the board, when you're looking around, it's very pleasing to the eye. The in-game details are, you have a set time of 10 minutes. If you're doing it by yourself, it should take you longer than 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a decent time. You have to pull out 2 different trays. You have to make 1 stack of cards, another stack of cards that's already pre-organized. The longest part of this game is you have to have 100 fish dumped out between your oceans and your reef, and then you have to take the 20 fish per player and sprinkle them in there, so you really have to count the fish. But the cool thing is, all of the fish are in different art styles, so they're all different. So if you have a large bag of fish, that's your 100 fish that you just need to dump out immediately. If you have 2 smaller bags of fish, one of them they're each gonna be 20 counts. One of them's gonna be for 2 players or 3 players. Next one's gonna be for 4 players. And then you have a fish bag that says reserved. Dump all of the blue colored fish inside of there, because that's gonna be dumped on the final round of the game, regardless of player count. And just make sure that no fish runs out from the game. Going to the teach of this game, the teach is also very simple. You're just gonna read out what you do on your turn, what the different symbols on the cards mean, but luckily the iconography is also represented on the boards that you pull out. Whatever you assemble is going to stay assembled. You don't have to assemble and disassemble in order for it to fit in the box, which is a huge plus, having a 3D element in the game that you do not need to disassemble in order to fit back in the box. I hate when games make you do that. It's very tacky in my opinion, but when they do it and it fits, it's a great thing. So yeah, you're going to teach what each action does. You're going to teach what the terminology means. You're going to make sure that they understand what happens midway through the game whenever the reef is empty. You're going to tell them this is now going to happen. And that's pretty much the whole game. There's not much to teach. It's more so questions you're going to answer throughout the way. Like, can one species have two of the same kinds of cards? How much do I have to feed again if I do this? So overall, it is an easy game to teach. It's just a harder game to understand how to play efficiently. Going to the mechanics of this game, the three primary mechanics of the game are tableau building, take that, and maintenance. Tableau is effectively because you're building out your species, and every single species is going to play with the game differently based on how you build out that species. So if I put one card on my species and all it does is whenever any other species forages, it gains 2 fish, that's all that card's gonna do. The species itself doesn't do anything. It's the cards you equip to the species that allows it to feed, allows it to gain, allows it to forage, allows it to steal, whatever it might be. So it really depends what cards you attach and also where they are. If I have a species on the far right of my board that says leeches one fish before I feed from the species on my right, I'm actually going to steal from the next player over their leftmost species. So it's all about who, like, not just who you sit next to, what species they have available to you. If they don't want you leeching off one species, they just have to build in between it, but then you have to upkeep that species. So it's all a give and take. The take that element is kind of what I just explained, because you can steal fish from other people's player boards, but it's not always a negative interaction. You're not going to nuke the player as opposed to other evolution games. Other evolution games, you can actually just feed off of other players entirely, and then once you decimate the population, they eradicate that species and they get nothing back from it. In nature, they gave it kind of a nicer hue to it, where even though if I had 3 cards attached to a species and someone ate that entire species, I will still keep my population. I believe I'm going to draw 3 cards for each card I lost along the way, just to give a nice balancing mechanism. But in this game, even though someone might eat all the fish in your population, you're not going to go away until you cannot age your species, and I'll go into that in a second. And that's going to come into what I'm talking about right here, the maintenance section, the maintenance mechanic. In board games, if you don't know, sometimes you have to pay a cost every single round in order to keep something active on your board. If you don't, it usually comes with the negative side effects. In this game, what happens is, at the end of all your turns, you're going to bank 1 population from your species on your playmat into your banked points. The more species you have, the more you have to bank, because it's 1 per species, not 1 per player. At the midway point through the game, you then have to do 2 fish per species. So you're able to bank more cards, which frees up more sessions on your player board, but you also have to maintain and make sure that each species is feeding enough in order to keep that that body size, the population, be like a certain number, because you don't want to go to 0. If you're ever unable to put fish from your population on your species into behind the board, whether it's 1 or 2, if you're unable to move the full amount over, that species dies. It's underpopulated, it's extinct, it goes away. So that could definitely hurt you, especially if you built up a good species. But in this game, it's kind of like an engine builder, engine buster a little bit too, because whenever you build up a certain element, you have to make sure it gains population, but you have to be fully willing to let it die, let it go. It's not always bad whenever you build 1 species up to grab 9 fish at once, and then you don't use it the rest of the game. Maybe it's meant to just slowly turn those points into your bank and then die out. That's perfectly valid in some instances. It's all about what you're willing to keep, what you're willing to fight for, and what you're willing to give up. So I like that a lot. That's the maintenance element of this. What this game feels like, this game very much feels like you're trying to balance all these levels at the same time. Because it's like what I said, you want to have enough species available where you're able to bank multiple points. If I only have 1 species, I'm only banking 1 point per round, unless it's midway, then I'm banking 2 points per round, which isn't that much. If I have 3 species in there, I'm actually banking 3 to 6 points every single round, but now I have to make sure I balance 3 different species and keep them alive and active. So you really have to make sure that you play with this balancing act, make sure everything's going at the right amount. Even though you're like, oh, that species has 5, I shouldn't have to mess with it for about 4 rounds. Someone might say, hey, I'm going to go attack that species because it has no defense. And now you have to worry, okay, crap, I wasn't planning on that happening. Do I want to attack with that species now and try to get my fish back? Do I want to go forage from the middle? Do I want to attach my next trait to give it some defense for next round? Maybe I'm fine with it dying. Maybe I just take the loss. It's all about what you're willing to balance. It's a huge balancing act I like very, very much. Going more directly into what I like about this game, I like just about everything. I like the art style of the game. I like the player interaction. I like the fact that you can build out your species a ton of different ways and that you can have multiple traits of the exact same type on the same species. The reason why is because in other evolution games, there's the unique rule. You can't have the same trait twice on a species, which makes sense because it can kind of get overpowered. But in Oceans, they definitely planned on that being a factor. They definitely planned on you doing something like that, and they want you to either benefit or they want you to be aware that that is something you are allowed to do, and the cards make sure to represent that. What I really like about this game as well is, unlike other Evolution games, there's an entire deck of 89 cards, and all they are unique one-shot or unique one single. Oh my gosh. What I really like about this game, there's a whole deck of 89 cards called deep cards, and what these deep cards do is, in the 89 cards, they're all unique abilities. And the reason why that's cool is because in the other deck, it's about 90 cards as well. But there are only 10 to 12 traits in those cards. So basically, you're going to find a lot of the same traits, maybe in different flavors. So you're going to have like Leech, Leech left, or Leech right. Maybe you're going to have Parasite, Parasite 1, or Parasite 2. Maybe you're going to have, it's going to look slightly different, but there's only 10 or 12 primary card types. But in Deep, there are 89 cards, and those 89 cards, is about 89 completely unique abilities on there. So if you see something you like, you have to make sure to get it. But there's a cost. In order to play that card, you have to discard fish from your banked population back into the player board. So it's going to cost you some points, but some of these abilities are really, really good. Like I said, there's an ability I got from there that said 2 fish anytime someone does the forage action, which is one of the main ways to get fish. So any species that does that in a round, I'm going to get 2 fish from them. And it was especially nice when someone had a may feed twice card, so they fed twice, and I got 2 points every time. Tag that with a cannot overpopulate ability, and that was fantastic. Also, another thing I like about this is you can't just max out your points on a single species. Single species can hold 9. A single species can hold 9 population at any given point in time. If you add that 10th population in there, you stop picking up population, and then now you have to get rid of half of your population on that species. So if you're at 9, and even though you might accidentally gain your 10th one, what now happens is 5 of your population on the board has to be wiped out, so it drops down to 5. It could definitely hurt you if you gain too much. You can't be greedy. You can't just make sure to gain as much as possible. You have to make sure to strategically gain whenever it's beneficial to you. Additionally, in the ocean tiles, in the ocean area, there are 3 different lanes. The first 2 lanes, whenever they're empty, you can trigger the abilities inside that lane. Now, maybe someone has an ability they want to unlock, so they're going to pull all the fish outside of that lane first. However, if you want to stop them, you're able to move cards from Ocean 3 sometimes into Ocean 1 in order to block that ability from happening, because the ability can only trigger whenever it's fully empty. It's an interesting balance. It's an interesting interaction with the players in the game that's indirect. Some people want to make sure that ability is free and clear because they might benefit from having a +1 to feed. Some people want you to not have that benefit, so they want to make sure to block you in certain ways. So overall, everyone's interacting with the game in completely different ways based on your strategy, even though we're all playing with the exact same rules. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying there's a ton of things I like about this game that I very much appreciate, because it's very modular without having any expansion necessary. Going to what I dislike about this game, one of the things I don't like very much is the fact that, again, it depends who you play next to. If you've seen my other videos, you know that's one of my main knacks on the game. Between Two Castles is a good game, a great game even, but it's knocked a few points in my head, because if I have to win or lose a game, depending if I'm staying with people that are good at the game or not good at the game, it could definitely hurt my experience. So I was sitting down, and in some games, if I were to play with someone who did not go for a certain strategy, certain cards I would place in the field would definitely suck. However, that's kind of the nature of the beast, because you could also just build species to the left and right of you and just block other people's abilities. You could definitely play some specifically to mess with your opponent's abilities. So honestly, it's not the worst. In a game like this, you really do have to mess with your opponents a lot in order to prevent them from winning. Otherwise, it's going to be completely solitary gameplay, and then it's really going to feel more like a roll and write. And I think it would be a worse game without the player interaction, even though I don't like it. But also, in certain ways, it's kind of nice to have someone steal population from you. Because, for instance, my brother-in-law is about to overpopulate, and he wants to add more fish to a certain species board. So my card can actually leech population from his species. That actually works out for him, because now he's able to feed and get more fish, and I freed up some spots on his board, so I take 2 from him, so he's able to gain 4. It's an interesting dynamic economy that isn't present in many board games, but I think this one does very, very well. Now, I'll talk about similar games to this game. This game, the only two games I can think of are Evolution and Nature. Evolution, of course, because this is very much an evolution game, it's just not nearly as punishing. In Evolution, again, when someone eradicates your species, it feels horrible, and you can definitely feel like you're going to lose the rest of the game and not want to encourage it anymore. The Take That Nature is very aggressive, and everything happens in different phases. In Oceans, it's not in different phases. You do everything on your turn. On your turn, the start of it, you're going to play 1 or 2 cards. Then you're going to go in the feeding phase. Then you're going to draw your cards back up. Then you're going to move on. That's all it is. Everything happens on your turn, the next player's turn, the next player's turn. It's not an almost simultaneous game, because in Evolution, everyone puts a card face down, and then everyone reveals the cards when they equip. And then they're going to start feeding in different phases. Then we're going to go to the next phase, the next phase. It's very phase-based. This one's more like a PEMDAS single-player turn, which makes the game a lot more organic, less stressful, less obnoxious whenever you're messing up, less waiting on people to take their actions. It's very good. In Nature is a streamlined version of Evolution. So even though Nature definitely takes out a lot of the difficulty and the take that feel, Oceans, you can't have someone else mess up your economy. Now, even though I might only have 2 population on a certain species, someone might take that and not have to deal with it, I can still have a chance to come back. It's not, they don't incessantly annihilate my species. I have a chance to build my species back up. Because it doesn't matter if they take away all my population. It's still there. I can still deal with it. I can have contingency plans for that. As opposed to in Nature and Evolution, if your species gets eaten alive and you have nothing left, it's destroyed. It's gone from the game. Sucks to be you. So this game is definitely the feel-better version of both of those games, even though Nature's already a feel-better version of Evolution. Now, going to my final thoughts of this game, we're going to talk about would I purchase this game. This game is $55 MSRP. I would buy this game, but not at the MSRP of $55. Now, I know I've told you that the art style is fantastic, the component quality is good with the 2 boards that you have to assemble, and that stay assembled in this big box. It's nice. However, I would pay more than $40 for this game probably, and if I saw it on sale for $40, I'd probably go for it. It's just $55 is a high price point, and this is a hard game to pull out. Not very many people want to play these games. I know when I said this is a great game in the Evolution line, people immediately don't want to play the game because of the connotation of Evolution, even though this game is nothing like Evolution and the core aspects that they don't want to engage with. So I would play this game about $40 because it won't hit the table as much as I want it to, and I definitely wouldn't hit the table if I wasn't with my brother-in-law, who loves these kinds of games. Going to the replayability of this game, would I replay this game? This game's very replayable, so I would definitely like to play this game again. Again, there's a lot of different strategies you can play with, even with the exact same cards available to you without the deep cards, and adding on the deep cards that have a unique single card action ability that you have to pay for and that you have to go for in different ways, it definitely adds into how many times I can play this game and build completely different machines, or even the exact same machine that have different outcomes depending on the players and abilities left in the game. So going to my final ranking, if you don't know, I rank every single game from the best game I've ever played to the worst game I've ever played. If you want to see that full list, go ahead and just subscribe now, because I am going to do a full top 100 video explaining all my rankings, when they got in there, 10 videos or 10 games at a time. Going to this game right here, this game is ranked 43 out of 173, meaning it's actually in the upper echelon of the games I've played. It's definitely a B tier game. It's not A tier just because, again, it takes a little bit longer than I like to play it. I wish this game ended about 15 minutes earlier, but you really can't speed up the game itself because you have to have all the fish gone from the entire game before the game ends. And there's a lot of fish in the game. But overall, this is a good game. This game sits right underneath Diatoms. If you don't know, I speak very highly of Diatoms. I did a before you buy video on this. If you want to go check it out, go ahead and check it out on my channel right now. And right above Battle for Hoth, another game I very much like that's inside of that has a before we buy video on it, so go ahead and check that out while you can. The reason why it sits in between them is because Diatoms is just a very, very great, well-designed tile placement game. I don't care about the theme that much. If I care about the theme, it would definitely jump up a few more, but Diatoms is just a very beautiful game with double placement, with double tile placement rules. You're going to place one tile in order to gain more tiles to place on your personal board. I like that a lot. It's very satisfying. It's right above Battle for Hoth, because even though I like the IP, even though I like the war game feel, even though I like how it's fun, I don't like the fact that the action selection is from a deck that you have on the side, so you can't really control what you do. You just have to plan strategically and still hope for the best. So it is a decent amount of luck in the game, which I don't love, but I do enjoy it. This game sits right in the middle because everything is your outcome based on what you do and what people around you do. And you can actually slowly watch them and see what their strategy is in Oceans, what they're building for, what they might end up doing, and plan around it, and also have some countermeasures in case they go different routes you didn't expect. So yeah, this game sits at 43 out of 173, and it's a B tier game. That's everything for today. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Like this video if you actually liked what we talked about, and go ahead and give me some hype if you're on mobile. That boosts up our videos in the algorithm a lot. Hope to see you in future videos, but for now, peace out, have a great day, God bless, and I hope to see you at table soon.